What's going on, Wolfpack? You're very welcome to another video here on Degenerate Watch. Thank you very much for joining me. In this video we're going to be in Ireland in my home county, which is County Wicklow, and more specifically in the village of Ashford, where we're going to be looking at a motorbike theft. In the early hours of the morning on Monday the 16th of December, a white van occupied by 4 men parked up outside the property in Ashford, County Wicklow. 3 men exited the van, with one taking up position by the front door, while the other 2 suspects used angle grinders to free the motorbike from its locks, with the 4th man remaining in the vehicle. The entire incident was captured on the homeowner's CCTV, and we're going to take a look at that footage now. Two of the suspects get to work cutting the bike free from its locks with what appears to be an angle grinder, while a 3rd man stands guard at the front door in case anyone comes outside to challenge them. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a 4th suspect waiting in the van. You may have heard an alarm sounding at the start of the video. It has since stopped, but it will come back on again when they try to move the bike now in a minute. It's evident that none of these guys had their Weetabix that morning, as the 4th man that was sitting in the van has to come out and assist the guys to get it into the back. And even with his help, they still seem to have some difficulty. And at the same time, the other man is still at the front door of the property on sentry duty. That alarm must have frightened your man there, because he did a little run. And that alarm tone seems to be the best out of all the ones we've heard so far. Pointless as it is, because it doesn't seem like it's stirring anybody from their slumber. With great difficulty, they managed to get most of the motorcycle inside the van. And there must be some good reason why they don't use the double doors that are on the back of those vans to get it in. Surely that'd be easier. Anyway, it seems like they soon come to the conclusion that they're not going to get the whole motorbike inside the van with the door closed, and decide to take off. And as you can see, as they leave, the motorcycle is still hanging out the side door. And although it seems like they were there for quite a long time fiddling around trying to get the bike into the back, this all took place in just under 3 minutes. And one thing that I've seen commented a lot online is the fact that nobody woke up despite the noise of the angle grinder and the multiple alarms going off. I have a couple of theories on why people may not have woke up. First off, the buildings in the estate where this theft took place look to be fairly modern, so there is a possibility that they may have triple glazed windows, so that would go a fair way to dampening some of that sound. There's also the possibility that people may have been in a deep sleep, seeing as it is 3 o'clock in the morning and most people would probably have been asleep for a number of hours at that stage. Another thought that I had was the fact that people have become so desensitized to these sort of alarms going off. How often do you see a car alarm going off on a street or in a car park somewhere and people not batting an eyelid? It's the same sometimes with a house alarm going off or an alarm on a business. People just walk by and get on with their day and assume that somebody knows about it, or people may even perceive it to be a false alarm. You know, there's some places where you have these nuisance alarms and they seem to go off constantly for no reason, so people just kind of get used to it. Now of course I'm just surmising here, there could be any number of reasons why people didn't wake up. But I think the lesson to learn here is not to rely on an alarm on its own. You know, if that bike had been locked up out in the back garden, it'd be way less vulnerable. As the old saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. So even though the culprits got away with the motorcycle, there was some good news in this case. But before I get into that, I just want to ask you, if you have been enjoying the video, please do drop us a like, as it really does help the channel out, and please let us know down below in the comments what you thought and why you think people didn't wake up even with the alarms and the angle grinder going. Through their investigations, Wicklow Gardaí were able to confirm that the van used in the incident had been stolen earlier that weekend from a location in Tallaght on Sunday, December 15th. Unfortunately, the stolen motorcycle was fitted with a tracking device. After following a definite line of inquiry, the van was located by Gardaí back in Tallaght later on Monday, December 16th, with the motorbike locked up in the back of the van. Both vehicles were technically examined before being returned to their respective owners, and no arrests have been made in the case so far. Superintendent Rory Sheriff from Wicklow said Gardaí responded to the incident straight away and closely collaborated with their colleagues in Tallaght, which led to the speedy recovery of both the motorbike and the van. It's unfortunate that those responsible for this theft have not been apprehended yet, but hopefully the technical examination of the van and motorbike will yield some fingerprints or some DNA evidence. On a positive note, what is fantastic is the fact that both owners got their vehicles back, and hopefully there's very little if any damage done to both vehicles. In my view, both of these owners are extremely lucky to have gotten their vehicles back. For example, with the van, a lot of the time maybe the criminals will use it once or twice for a couple more thefts, but a lot of the time they're found burnt out somewhere. And a lot of the time with the motorbikes, they'll either be stripped down for parts and sold off that way, or they'll be put into a shipping container and sent out of the country and sold. So time is really of the essence with these sort of thefts. I don't know why the van was found abandoned with the motorbike in it, whether they got spooked, maybe they realised there was a tracker on the bike, or perhaps it was being left parked up until the heat died down a bit and then they were going to come back and get it, who knows. But a fairly good result here for Wicklow and Tallaght Gardaí, as the property was returned to their owners. So we'll have to keep an eye and an ear out now to see if the investigation yields any results and leads to any prosecutions. There seems to have been an explosion in the number of motorbike and moped thefts in recent years, and a lot of these thefts are becoming more brazen. You've most likely seen some clips from the UK where there's guys using angle grinders in broad daylight to rob motorcycles and even bicycles. And you can be sure that a lot of these criminals aren't afraid at all to use violence in order to get away. As you can see from the clip we've just watched, there's a guy standing guard at the door in case the homeowner comes out and tries to challenge them. Once the guys that are cutting the bike free are finished with the angle grinder, they then give it to him to stand at the door and use it as a weapon. I've seen some people commenting online that if they woke up and seen that situation going on, they wouldn't go out and challenge the guys. They were suggesting pouring something like boiling water out the window. The problem with doing that is the fact that you don't know who these guys are, but they now know where you live. So if you injure one of their guys by doing something like that, there is a good chance that they could come back after you. I think that's just people trying to be a bit dramatic, because that tactic isn't realistic. Because by the time you'd fill and boil the kettle, the guys will be gone with the bike, as you just seen. I know it's a natural reaction to want to go and confront these thieves while they're in the act and try stop them, but from a safety point of view, I don't think that's wise. You really don't know what these people are prepared to do in order to get away, and you can't really be sure exactly how many people you're up against. Take what this Reddit user here said when commenting on this particular theft. They write, "This is how it's escalating and getting so much worse now. Believe me or not, I see it in the comments here saying people would never do anything, etc, etc. But I did catch 4 lads going at mine about 1 AM with an angle grinder. I was still awake watching TV. I ran out and the 4 of them legged it on e-bikes. In hindsight, probably very stupid of me to run out. Who knows what might have happened if they stood their ground. I didn't look before I went out though, so I wasn't expecting 4 of them. The difference now is that in that video, if one of them is standing watch waiting to attack whoever opens the door, are we at the point where screaming at them won't scare them off? I'm afraid to say I think we passed that point long ago, because most criminals out there know that the guards are stretched so thin at the moment that by the time a response gets out there, they'll be long gone. It also must be pretty demoralising for the force as a whole, as Gardaí know there are incidents that need responding to, but they can't due to a lack of resources. The user then goes on to say, they know 100% that the guards won't do anything even if they show up. I'll certainly think twice about running out again. At this point I've made my peace with the fact that the bike is insured, let them take it and I'll make a claim. No use ending up in hospital over a bike, I guess, unless you have 4 equally big lads in the house and you have 3 trained attack dogs. Aside from the goons and attack dogs, I think that guy gives good advice there. I think running out and trying to challenge those guys is a big no-no. If you have the bike or the vehicle insured, I think it's best to just let them take it and then report it and make a claim. Somewhere like Ashford that doesn't have its own Garda station, even if you rang the Gardaí, they're probably going to be coming from Wicklow town, which is going to take some time to get there. So I understand that even if you ring the guards, by the time they actually get out to the scene, those guys are going to be long gone. Driving recruitment for the Gardaí and getting extra resources to the ones that are already out on the beat is not something that's going to happen overnight. So what can you actually do to make sure your bike is that little bit safer? I suppose the number one thing that you could do, if possible, is to put the bike out of sight, either in a garage or out in a back garden or something like that. And I know that solution's not practical for everybody. I have seen people online suggest ankle grinder resistant locks. Now, I'm not quite sure myself how effective they are, and I'm pretty sure that eventually, if more and more people have them, the criminals will come up with some other way of releasing the bikes. I know a lot of those fancy locks can be quite expensive, and maybe that's what puts people off buying them. But you'd think with a couple of grand's worth of a motorbike you wouldn't mind spending a bit on a lock. But then you have the conundrum, if the lock actually does get cut through, you're at the loss of the lock and the motorbike. And I suppose some people can be complacent too and think, ah, sure, it won't happen to me, it's quiet around my area or whatever. There are suggestions that maybe some of the manufacturers start getting into providing these locks with the motorbikes when they're purchased new. And the hope for some people is that if there is more and more publicity about this sort of crime and more manufacturers get into manufacturing these locks, that the price will come down. If you can afford a tracker for your bike, I think that's a good investment. As you've seen, in this case it did lead to the recovery of the bike and of course the van that it was inside. So I guess it's just a game of trying to stay one step ahead of the thieves. I'm very interested to know what you guys thought of this theft and of this wave of bike thefts in general. Have you yourself had experience of bike theft like in your area? Has it been happening? Do you know somebody that it has happened to, or has it happened to you yourself? Or maybe you have some bike security tips that you would like to share with others. If so, please do let me know about it down below in the comments. Well guys, that's just about a wrap for this video. I do thank you very much for joining me, and I do hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, as I said, please do drop us a like, as it does really help the channel out. If you like what we do here and you'd like to help support the channel and keep things moving forward, there's a couple of links down below in the description where you can do just that. Or if you'd prefer, you can hit the little heart button down below this video to send us a super thanks. I'd like to give a massive shout out to the crew of legends that are my channel members, and of course if you are one of my channel members, you will have had early access to this video as it is a member's first video. As ever guys, your support really does mean a lot, and it is very much thoroughly appreciated and keeps things moving forward here, so thank you very much. And if you would like to become a channel member and join the Wolf Pack, you can find out more details at the link down below in the description. Once again, I thank you very much for joining me guys. I'll be back in the next couple of days with another video. I do hope you'll join me then. But until next time, why not check out one of the videos that should be appearing on screen now. Until then guys, stay safe, take care, peace.